What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical American guy here today to react and learn about Inside Downing Street, a brief history of number 10. Now, somehow, and I think this is true for most Americans, I am aware of this address, number 10 Downing Street. It's like a far off, distant memory of covered in fog. Like, I don't know where I've heard the address, but I've definitely heard this address before. And now it's kind of come back to me, I believe, to the best of my knowledge. This is an address in London, and it's where the Prime Minister would live, if I'm correct. I might as well just Google it and get it over with. Number 10. Downing Street. It's in London. Prime Minister's office. Perfect. Okay. I have retained some of my upper brain function. I don't know when we learned this. Maybe in first grade in the UK curriculum. Who knows? But I sure never heard that. You don't hear that address much in America. That's for sure. But I suppose this is equivalent to the United States President's White House. It's the place they live, although it's pretty generally accepted that the United States President works out of the White House and lives there, whereas I'm not sure. I mean, just based off this little picture alone, this almost looks like an apartment or something. I'm not sure this is where the Prime Minister would actually work out of. That'd probably be a parliament building or something, right? Anyway, I will stop speculating and just learn, right? That's what we're here to do.
60 years ago, the Tory Prime Minister was out of Downing Street. Harold Macmillan made way for the builders to move in and stop the most famous address in politics from falling down.
Oh, so I don't remember, when was this?
60 years ago.
60 years ago, and this video was made, 2022. What a pleasant surprise. 60 years ago, this place was falling apart. I guess that's what I'm trying to digest here. Okay.
The Tory stopped the most famous address in politics from falling down.
Okay. Was it getting some kind of super intense use out of whatever prime minister was living there 60 years ago? There were cracks in the ceiling, in the stairs. What was he doing in there? What was going on in there? All right, it's probably just because the residence is old. I get it. Okay.
Come to Downing Street to meet academic and former historian in residence Jack Brown to find out about the famous Black Door and the building behind it.
Welcome to Downing Street.
So Jack, where we are right now looks...
Well, we're calling it Downing Street, huh? I suppose the entire street is probably owned by the government, and they kind of ceremonially give it to whoever the prime minister is. It's not like he just lives at number 10 and number 9 and 11. You got some random UK person living there, right? Although that would be kind of funny.
It's very nice, manicured grass, nice plants and all that, but this used to be basically a swamp.
It did.
Oh.
The Thames was much more sort of untamed and wild. It's not that far away from the Thames, actually, is it?
Yeah.
And until the Thames was tamed, this is all very marshy ground.
And so who
Look at this place, honestly. If I can just go back a little bit.
decided that on this bit...
And until...
This. It's not that grandiose. And I kind of like that. It's very quaint. I don't know what the word is. It's just like an apartment building, a flat, if you will, if I'm using that word correctly, where you might expect a government official, much less the prime minister, to be given a really extravagant place to live. I just watched a bunch of videos, God knows, over Buckingham Palace and some of the places that British royalty live, which spare no expense. They really don't spare any expense with the living conditions. So this is kind of different, refreshing, to see that the Prime Minister is really just given this building to live in. Although, much like other politicians and monarchs, you have to wonder, do they actually live here most of the time, or are they off in their penthouse mansion off somewhere living there? Kinda. I wouldn't blame them, but just interesting to think about.
The Thames was tamed. This is all very marshy ground.
And so, who was it who decided that on this bit of boggy ground they were going to build this building?
It was a
Yeah.
guy called Sir George Downing. He eventually acquired this land to put up some houses very cheaply for no one in particular.
Huh. Sir George Downing. And he just built these houses. They looked like apartments to me, but they're just houses that are attached, I suppose. I don't I don't live in some kind of big city, so I'm not used to that sight at all of attached houses that you would say are houses that are attached, but I understand the concept. Thank goodness. Interesting that he just made these for no one in particular, which would reason that at some point in history, why did it become protocol for the prime minister to start living in this very unassuming place?
In 1732, goes back to the ownership of the crown, and then the king gives it to the man who we widely regard as the first prime minister, Sir Robert Walpole.
Oh, hold on. This is basically the explanation.
And then in 1730, and to put up some houses very cheaply for no one in particular. In 1732,
Like 300 years ago.
goes back to the ownership of the crown, and then the
Okay.
king gives it to the man who we widely regard as the first prime minister, Sir Robert Walpole. And that's when the works begin to knock it together to the separate house at the back and make it into the Downing Street we know today.
Oh, yeah, I bet there's a lot more to it than just the front that I'm seeing. Maybe it's not so quaint. Maybe it is. Maybe it is like the prime minister gets an entire block to himself, which would be kind of nice. But I can only go off what I see, and I'm not even sure if they're going to show much of the inside also.
So, how long did it take before this became a permanent residence for the Prime Minister?
Yeah.
Walpole denied that he was prime minister, right? This is why it says First Lord of the Treasury on the front door, because that was an official title. Prime ministers had better properties elsewhere. This wasn't the most salubrious area, actually.
I was exactly. Prime ministers, you would think, just given the prestige of the position, would have nicer places elsewhere. I mean, no disrespect to number 10, but it's pretty normal. So I get it.
It was a little bit dodgy. You had a few sort of brothels and gin palaces and places like that. It's not until Arthur Balfour establishes the precedent at the beginning of the 20th century. Prime ministers consistently live here.
I kind of like the idea of passing along something that's very much what an average person might live in, the circumstances and geography that a normal person in the UK might live in, giving that to the prime minister, who after all is a public servant, represents the will of the people, represents the people. I could go on and on. I could knock on number 10 right now and preach to the prime minister exactly why he should be. You belong in here, mister. Okay, sorry for bothering you.
By the middle of the 20th century, the whole place is almost falling down.
Harold Macmillan becomes Prime Minister in 1957.
Okay.
It becomes unavoidable, basically, the idea that you're going to have to move out for a period. And because Macmillan was like, I want to stay here as long as possible, they could only kind of lift up, a couple of corners and go, oh, it looks bad. But it's not until the works start that they actually are able to take the place apart and realise the extent of insect damage, of dry rot, of apparently some walls kind of basically doing nothing but plaster. And you're right that
Insect damage, dry rot. Okay. Yeah, sure.
there's also strikes. This is post-war Britain, after all. There's a strike over the issue of tea breaks, which is even more British.
Talk me through, if we're looking at the building from the...
What are they doing behind him there? Look in this freeze frame. They're sneaking in to number 10 back there. Someone has to stop them. Okay, I'll stop. Someone's got to stop me so we can get through the video.
There's a strike over the issue of tea breaks, which is even more British.
Talk me through, if we're looking at the building from the outside, why is it black?
You can see a couple of different shades, and number 12 is not black, it's in red brick. The idea
Okay.
here is that it's deliberately painted black because when the works were done, they discovered that the bricks that they thought were black are actually just covered in soot. So it's painted kind of in an homage to how dirty and disgusting it used to be.
Okay. Yeah, it is black. Solid black brick. Not really something you ever see anywhere. Kind of gives it its distinct signature look. Very interesting. Very interesting. And that is funny that they it was dirty bricks, so they just painted them black. Just rolling with it. Why not?
Covered in soot. So it's painted kind of in an homage to how dirty and disgusting it used to be.
There
Okay.
is no number 9. There's number
Oh.
11 as well. But in the middle, there's a mystery door. There's a door between tenants, or 10 and a half. What's going on there?
The Chancellor is formally housed at number 11, but
Funny, I was kind of joking earlier, but there really is a number 11, although no number 9. And then there's a weird mystery door, probably some kind of portal to another universe. Or maybe whatever he's about to explain, between 10 and 11?
but they've swapped the flats over ever since Tony Blair and Gordon Brown's time, because early on in Tony Blair's premiership, he had a larger family. Gordon Brown wasn't using it that much.
The Chancellor, he said, I believe, used to live there.
Housed at number 11,
Or 10 and a half.
but they've swapped.
Hang on there.
The Chancellor is formally housed at number 11.
The Chancellor? I'm not sure what that means. Chancellor of UK? Save me. Google, please help me. Kit Malthouse? Serving as Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster since 2022. That didn't answer a single thing for me. Didn't tell me anything, okay? The Chancellor is the Chancellor. Is a senior minister of the Crown. Okay. I can live with that. I won't go any further down that rabbit hole.
But they've swapped the flats over ever since Tony Blair and Gordon Brown's time, because early on in Tony Blair's premiership, he had a larger family. Gordon Brown wasn't using it that much and didn't at that point. It's a bit more
Okay.
academic now, because actually inside, behind that door, that mystery door in the middle, it's basically just corridors linking the two.
Oh.
And it said that, you have to have exceptionally bad
Oh.
relationship between the Chancellor and Prime Minister for the internal door between the two flats to be closed.
That's funny and kind of awkward if that happens. So it's just a bunch of corridors, hallways linking number 10 and 11, the Prime Minister and the Chancellor. And if they kind of unofficially don't like each other, the door will be shut, which, okay, interesting. Kind of like how we solve problems in our own houses. At least they're somewhat normal. If you are fed up with your brother, sister, father, mother, whatever, you can just always go into your bedroom and slam your door shut. I guess that never ends. No matter where you get in life, Prime Minister, Chancellor, that never stops. Good to know. Kind of comforting.
What's in number 12?
At one point, it's been the Chief Whip's office. Gordon Brown's time, it was used as his office. He had like an open plan sort of office arrangement.
There was talk.
Do they all actually live in this row of houses? Like, really? A bunch of important figures, just next door neighbors in these historical housing center? That's how it works? I swear, they must have other houses, though. They just must.
Of Boris Johnson moving out, going down to the Cabinet Office. But Prime Ministers are always very reluctant to give up the keys to that famous door.
I mean, it's not a practical place for the Prime Minister. It's not a practical place for their advisors. But it's got that history. It's got that incredible history. The Cabinet room, the decisions that have been taken around that table.
Wait. So he's saying it's not practical to live in? Because the President of the United States really does live in the White House. Or it's made for that, to definitely fulfill that purpose, as well as having rooms, like boardrooms and stuff for discussion, where he is saying, if we look up, I already did. Thank you, past me. Is the official residence and executive office as the Prime Minister, so it really is an office. I just would never have guessed, based on the appearance. It just looks like a house. Interesting.
got that history. It's got that incredible Prime Minister. It's not a practical place for their advisors, but it's got that history. It's got that incredible history. The cabinet room,
Okay.
the decisions that have been taken around that table.
Okay.
They don't want to leave. And I can understand why. It's kind of iconic. It's humble.
Interesting.
It's special. It's very British.
Yeah, if you find one day yourself the Prime Minister, by God, you get to soak in the number 10 Downing Street all you want. Go inside, be really grumpy to give up the keys, be like, I earned this, I'm gonna soak in this dirty, cracking old building with the black door and black bricks. I'm gonna feel the bricks. Okay. They should never ever let me near this building. Don't vote for me.
There's something quite magical about it in a way.
Interesting. Well, just in case, I did have this other video about a tour of number 10, because they didn't show us too much of the inside. Someone named David Cameron is going to give us a tour of number 10. David Cameron's tour. Who are you? David Cameron. You are former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Excuse me. Okay. No big deal. I didn't know that. I have not heard of him. This video is like 11 years old. God knows I don't know 90%, 99% of the UK's former prime ministers, so you'll have to excuse me on that one. Sorry, Mr. Cameron. Okay, here we go.
It was another moment for the history books at one of the most historic addresses in Great Britain, 10 Downing Street.
Yeah. Man, they're just having all the kids come in, getting to have a special day, see the historic building, the Prime Minister.
Its current resident, Prime Minister David Cameron, opened the gates for a street party to celebrate the royal wedding.
Cool. Okay, I think we have to skip to the tour.
Let's go inside,
come
shall
into
we?
my,
Here we go.
The door opens. Once the door didn't open, and I just
Wait, that door just opened.
Hey,
come
shall
into
we?
my.
This door just opened. Is there a ghost?
Yeah, hopefully
Your
the
humble abode?
door opens. Once the door didn't open, and
What? And here I was saying technology in other videos of old British castles. I was saying, oh, they probably don't mix in too much technology into the building. Oh, I really would want them to. I never even thought mechanical door. If you're the prime minister, you get to number 10 and the door opens for you. Maybe it only opens for the prime minister. Maybe they could like implant a chip into his neck. So just him. It only opens for him. That'd be kind of cool. Not impractical at all. No, definitely not.
I just was left outside, gently knocking, saying, "Please let me in."
So, you've lived here for almost a year. How are you liking it?
Okay.
To start with, it is odd because it's a bit like living in a museum.
But
Yeah. This guy seems pretty down to earth based off the 3 sentences I've heard him say. I'm really passing a quick judgment here, sweeping judgment. I could be wrong, but that's exactly what I would think. Look at this place. It's like you're stepping back in time, living in a museum.
you pretty much live and work at the same place.
My commute from my bedroom to my office is about 30 seconds, so that's quite nice.
Okay, I feel like he's said that joke before. That was too good. That was too on the nose. But this kind of answers the question I was having earlier. He really does live there and work there. I thought it was probably going to be mostly ceremonial, based on just how it looked. They just kind of give it to the prime minister. And he does, oh, thank you, oh, beautiful tradition and all that. And then he goes off and lives in his mansion. Kudos to, or props, or whatever you want to say. I respect that the prime minister actually lives in this place and works there.
At 44, David Cameron is the youngest prime minister in nearly 200 years. Since his election last May, he's lived in this museum of British history with his wife Samantha and their 3 young children.
Do you spend
Yeah.
a lot of time saying, don't touch that?
No, basically what happens is they rush into that little door there, which is where all the security cameras are. And they get in there and they fiddle them all around and change all the alarm settings and cause chaos.
Oh, that's where you can watch all the cameras all throughout the house.
And then they race down this
Hope they're not in the bathroom. I don't know why you'd really need that much surveillance for your own house. They probably have a full-time security guard. It probably makes sense.
corridor. There's normally little mint sweets on the cabinet table, and they work that one out. So when they come back from school, sometimes they rush in there and stuff their pockets full and then race upstairs. So this is
Okay.
where we sit.
Long before Cameron was born,
Hostilities will end.
Look at this place. It's got a full boardroom with all the cushy seats. It's not like Buckingham Palace. That's one of the only places I have that I know about that I've seen to reference in UK culture. So sorry if I keep going back to Buckingham Palace, but it's certainly more extravagant. This is very much the look of, well, the White House, honestly. The US White House would have pillars like this, very much a similar style to this. Probably a little more dressed up even. This is very humble, very quaint, very down to business. We got the table to do your meetings at. And yeah, I think it's actually pretty cool.
This is where we sit.
long before Cameron was born,
Hostilities will end officially.
Sir Winston Churchill announced
The German war is therefore
the first and only
Okay.
female prime minister met President Ronald Reagan.
Oh, in this room?
These candlesticks were presents from
Cool.
Ronald Reagan to Margaret Thatcher.
Cool.
So there we are. There's a little bit of America.
Imagine having those candlesticks. I mean, when you become very high politically, you suddenly find yourself surrounded by all these ancient artifacts. And I'm a fantasy nerd, so I'd be like, does this candlestick have like some kind of ancient UK power in it? Or is it just a candlestick? That's what I'd be doing.
Here. This was Churchill's favourite armchair, which actually
And there's a little bit of Churchill everywhere.
There's
Do you ever
just
sit in this chair?
I don't. I'm so worried I might break it or something like that.
yeah.
And I
yeah.
understand there are marks in
Exactly. They're like, oh, this is just the fabled chair that Churchill sat in when he made some of the most important decisions in humanity. And no, I'm not gonna sit in it. I'd be terrified. Although, would it give you the power of Churchill to sit in it?
here because he used to dig his fingernails into the arms to sort of when he was nervous.
I didn't know that. I wouldn't be. There's a famous, the dispatch box in the House of Lords where he used to make some of the speech during the war. You can see the mark where he banged his hand on it with his signature. You can see the chips in the wood. So this is Prime Minister's all the way up.
The walls along the main staircase of 10 Downing contain the portraits of every prime minister, but one.
Ah,
Cameron's won't be there until he's left office.
I was just about to say, does it include the current prime minister? No, it doesn't. Not till you leave. That's too bad. You get to pass all these badasses on the way up the stairs, and then it'd be you, like, next, and you'd be like, yeah, that's me. You know, no big deal. Just the prime minister in number 10. Yeah, there's my portrait.
That's the rule.
Be a bit of a confidence boost.
There's Margaret Thatcher, then Blair and Major Blair and Brown. Brown's literally has just appeared, so this is the latest.
Since taking Gordon
Right.
Brown's place, David Cameron has encountered the history, but also the enormous responsibility of the office he holds.
Okay. I really only want this video as a tour. Okay. I think that's pretty much the end of the number 10 Downing Street tour part of this video. Very interesting. Nothing crazy, nothing kind of like mind-blowing. I mean, the most mind-blowing thing was the automatic door. And so that kind of says it all. It's very much been maintained as a historical building. Very cool, though. Very cool that as Prime Minister, that kind of tradition lives on, and you probably really feel like you're living in history when you live there. Other than that, I do have this video I couldn't help but notice in the recommended section. Hilarious moment. Downing Street policeman knocks on number 10 to let in Larry the cat. Is this a thing? I noticed this video.
agreement, financial bills are specified in there. So,
Larry.
in the strict interpretation of it, that would say that this was a warning shot.
Is this normal? Why does he have a name, Larry? Does he? And if he's about to be let in, does he live here? How long has Larry been around?
To remind Theresa May,
I like this.
Their support is conditional.
Let him
on her
in.
Keeping her side of the bargain.
Come on.
I think if you pick it apart a little bit, Neil, this is the core.
Larry should have some kind of button or something. Oh, the door is supposed to open automatically for the Prime Minister, at least. They need to give Larry the computer chip so the door opens for him. Oh my gosh. I just discovered what we need to do with British taxpayer money. Absolutely.
Core message, and it's a very dangerous one for Theresa
Look at
May,
him.
because
He's pretty
it's
smart.
been known for some time that the DUP are very unlikely to vote for this withdrawal agreement. But I think what last night was about was saying, coupled with those really
Look at him. He's starting to look at him.
very serious concerns for Theresa
Are you going to
May
let him in?
are the ongoing concerns
Come
about whether or
on.
not she might face a confidence vote
Yes.
from her MPs.
Yes.
The immediate threat appears to be looming at the back end of last week.
he's
when
not-
Jacob Rees-Mogg, the chairman of the European Research Group,
Oh
issued his
my
letter.
goodness. Okay, that was worth it. Is that part of the officer's job to let Larry the cat in? And it does open automatically. You just have to knock first. Okay, I've dragged this out long enough. Now I finally know what's going on with 10 Downing Street. That name was burned into my memory somehow, like we went over it at somewhere in my childhood education. And it makes a lot of sense. It's the home and office, and really does serve those functions to this day, of the Prime Minister. Who knew? I didn't. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this reaction, feel free to like the video or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more content like this, reacting to United Kingdom themes and ideas, history, and interesting things that I don't know about, feel free to subscribe to the channel for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.